Okie doke. Well, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. Welcome, everyone, to the Public Practice Accountants Club on Clubhouse, where public practitioner, thought leaders, industry specialists, and accountants just like you discuss hot topics in public practice and how they go about navigating the public practice landscape all around the world. So fundamentally, public practice has the same principles, dynamics, and challenges no matter where we are in the world. We might have some different tax seasons, busy periods, and legislation, but at the core, we are very much the same. So, our room this morning, protecting your time, how to maximize client satisfaction by learning when to say yes. Okay, so quick introduction. I think I know most people, or I've seen most people that are in Clubhouse this morning. My name is Linda Steffens. I am an accountant and author and an introvert, and I have been hanging around accounting now for just over 30 years. So what I do from day to day is that I help accounting firms who are already doing advisory, but they want to make it into a consistent and ongoing revenue stream. So that's what I hang out doing and love to do every single day. And of course, my amazing co-host is with me this morning, Kylie Baxter. Good morning.
Good morning, Linda, bright and early on a Wednesday morning. I love that we catch up on Wednesdays because it's a bit like this is a good thing to do in the middle of the week, you know, started off my week, I'm not in the downhill run, it's good timing. Yes, hello everyone, I'm Kylie Baxter. I think I also know most of the people in the room, but for those that might be watching on other places that I pretend Linda doesn't really stream to and tell me about. I am an accountant and own an accounting firm on the Gold Coast. I feel like a bit of a jack of all trades at the moment, like, you know, gone are the days of when we, you know, used to just focus on compliance and or advisory. Like I feel like my role and my job is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which is fun because, you know, accountants aren't people that just sit and do tax returns and spreadsheets. So no. I'm really all about breaking that mold at the moment. But today's discussion is a really interesting one because I think it affects every single person in our firm, yes. Whether you are out on your own as a one-man show or you've got a small team or even a large team, this topic affects you. So let's get stuck into it.
Absolutely. So just a reminder, we are a CPA discussion group, so you can get your CPE and CPD points for listening in. And of course, if you want to go back and listen to any of our topics, they are available on YouTube, and also you can find them through LinkedIn as well. Also in the Clubhouse app, they're hanging around there. So Kylie, don't like to make you nervous or anything in telling you where all this goes because, you know, everybody just wants to hear us.
I don't really get nervous. You know me, I'm a straight shooter. I'm going to say what I say. I just think I don't need to know about that, and that's fine.
Excellent. And of course, those listening in, we'd love to know where you're listening in from. So if you want to pop that in the chat or in a comment, if you're out in LinkedIn, we can actually see your comments. So please, you can comment there as well. And so let us know where you're tuning in from because we'd love to know who we're talking to. And of course, if you have any questions for us, you can also raise them throughout our room this morning. We'd love to hear from you. And of course, a reminder that as we kick off our conversation, our intention is always to be positive, supportive, and collaborative as we come together in support of our amazing industry, no matter where we are in the world. All right. Protecting your time, how to maximize client satisfaction by learning when to say yes. Just what you were saying, Kylie, accountants, we seeming like we've got to be everything to everybody, but we know that we can't be. So you feel as though you need to be available to make decisions, help your employees through challenges, be there for clients all the time when they need you. You're just pulled in so many directions, and we haven't even mentioned family and personal life yet. So that's just the work environment. So, you know, there just never seems to be enough hours in the day to get things done. And I know I certainly fall into this category. Some days you can just feel like you're very rattled and what did I achieve? And you just feel pulled from pillar to post some days. So what if you could learn to decide when to say yes instead of learning when to say no? So we're just flipping that around a bit because no does come into it. But what if you could control that clock a little bit better, allowing you to focus on higher priority tasks? And what if you could provide 10 out of 10 customer service every single time by becoming a maestro of your own time? That all sounds wonderful, doesn't it, Kylie? But how do we do it is the trick.
Yeah, it sounds like perfect world stuff, but we have to be
Yes.
practical about how this
Yes.
actually applies to us and our businesses, right?
Absolutely. So I think, the thing is you were mentioning about feeling like you've got to be, a lot of different places or doing a lot of different things. And I think as a modern business owner or a modern professional, the industry, it's definitely changing, right? It like you said, didn't it just be about tax returns and financials and those things? Now it's so much more, right? Or we feel like clients are wanting us to be so much more.
Or we're offering more, like there's nothing wrong with providing more than those traditional type services. In fact, it can be fantastic for your business and great revenue. But then how do you manage all of that? A lot of questions, a lot of requests, dare I say demands come with that as well. So you really have to manage this whole, how do I say yes? And this comes into capacity planning as well. What if you just say yes to everything? I, about 4 or 5 years ago, I've talked about my one word for the year here on here before, and my one word was yes. And even that year, I couldn't just say yes to every client.
No.
And my mantra for that year was just say yes. But it would have been saying no to myself and my team probably in that way had I said yes to the whole thing. So I think we'll have an interesting discussion today and break some of these things down.
Absolutely. So I think the thing is, when I talk to a lot of accountants, every single day I'm talking to accountants, and when I ask them, why do you do what you do? And it always comes back to helping clients, using our skills, our expertise, our knowledge to help clients, to help those that, don't know what we know. And so we are service people. We're big-hearted, humble service people, and that's why we're in this game. And some days you might be wondering, why am I doing it again? But, you do then just get those days where it's like, yeah, this is where I need to be, and I love doing what I do. But it is about client service. And I do think when we allow ourselves or are unable to be proactive about our time and we end up in those reactive spaces, if you asked yourself, did I really give 10 out of 10 client service today? Did I really live up to why I'm here? That might be questionable from time to time. I know I've certainly felt it. Kylie, have you felt it?
Yeah, definitely. I think it depends on the way you look at it, and I think the big thing is you need to own your choices.
Yes.
So it's about making the right choices in the beginning, and not winging it. I think we have to wing it these days because there's so much coming at us. And I'm hoping that today's discussion will give people some sort of framework in which to, make a decision on what to say yes to. And if you do have to say no, how to do it in an appropriate manner that suits you and that client or third party.
I love that you mentioned framework, structure. We love that, don't we? We're just set up for that. It gives us guidelines, right?
Yeah, and for me, that's the most important, not only for ourselves and our own self modification so that we don't treat clients differently, even though, in some firms they do have different class clients. It's important for me to be able to give my staff a framework of when we say yes and when we say yes in a different way.
Yes.
Which is often no. But you know what I mean? It's like, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah, I like that. Yes, in a different way.
Yes and da-da-da. Yeah.
Love it.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Like,
it's a great way of putting it.
Why do we say yes? Well, why do we say yes in the beginning to anything anyway. And it's because people come to us with a problem. And like you said, we're helpers by nature. And yes is a solution.
Mm-hmm.
But the question is yes the only solution?
Yes.
Because generally people come to us and they want this little thing in the box. This is what I want. And that's not always the best solution. So while you could say yes to that and it makes them feel good and happy, sometimes it's about offering alternatives, which are also a solution.
Mm-hmm. So to start off, Kylie, who sets the rules? And this is for everybody. It's a question for everybody. Who sets the rules about when you should be available and who you should be available to? Now, the answer, is probably very clear to us in that it should be and definitely be us. We set the rules. But do we? Do we allow ourselves to be pulled and pushed a little bit? And this is where you're coming back to what's the framework and the structure that you can lean on to enable you to go, wait, I'm being pushed and pulled here. Go back to my structure. This is what I should do. So instead of ending up in that real reactive space. Yeah.
Totally. So we at my firm actually dealt with this recently when we did our mission and values. And one of our values is collaboration. And one of our statements in there, which I'll end up putting on our website at some stage, is we work with you, not for you.
Yes.
And for us, that was a really clear message to clients that we want to work together, but we don't work for them. We're not at their beck and call. We are not an at call service, actually. And if they want that, then they need to go and find someone that offers that.
Yes.
But we certainly don't. Yes. And there's many reasons that we don't offer that. Many. It's partly, I'll drill it straight down to it. Partly it's for my staff and capacity and, planning and even mental health. We can't be people that work for, I don't even know how many clients we've got, 600-700 clients, maybe it's probably more, but family groups. Like you can't be yes people to everyone, and we all know as ourselves individually, we can't be everything to everyone. Like I can barely do that to my family. That's 3 other people, like all these other clients that are in my life,
That's exactly right. And you hit on another really important point here is mental health. And, it's not a hot topic, but it's a very important topic in our industry. And, we're seeing a lot of it and, it's not a good thing. And we've got to really look at how we can mitigate that, I suppose, in our behaviours. What can we do? So I think a lot of this being available for clients when and wherever they want us is not helping us as professionals, because the way we are built, most of us, we work better when we can have focused work time, alone time where we're not interrupted. So those blocks of time during our day or our week where we can just get work done. If the phone's ringing all the time or someone's standing at your door asking you questions or something's happening like that all the time, that stresses us out. Now, we can operate at that level for quite some time, but I tell you what, the effects on your body will soon raise their ugly head and let you know that I don't want to do that anymore. So that's something to consider, is mental health for you as well as your team, in changing your mindset perhaps around when you are available for clients. I was having a conversation yesterday with a director in an accounting firm, 3-partner firm here in Australia. I think they were about 25 staff. That exact same thing we were talking about there. How do you be available? Yeah. Now, what that firm had found was that to mitigate phone calls coming through from reception all the time, just the whole professional team were on do not disturb every day. Now, that's not a useful way to use that do not disturb tool. There can be some rules and structure and framework around that. And we got into that conversation of, well, who makes the rules of when you need to be available?
Absolutely.
So Yeah.
They can call back at any time. 24
Correct.
hours is a fantastic service standard.
Exactly. And that's what we came down to after that discussion. So we decided that we might think about a blackout on client calls going through to the professional team between a certain time during the day, so that everybody just knows where they stand as far as work. So that was something that they decided might work for them. But I think it also
Can I just point out, sorry.
Yes, of course.
I want the practicality of in linking that specifically to this topic today is, to some people it would look like, you know, how is client service telling the client, no, you can't speak to that person.
Can't speak to me.
Instead, yes, they will call you back, and they'll call you back by 5 p.m. today. And if they don't get back to you, they'll do it first thing in the morning.
Correct.
Okay, thanks. It's still a solution. So it is about the way you word it and the way we train our team to deal with those things. Like if a client rings and says at that firm, hey, I want to speak to Joe, and they're like, oh no, sorry, Joe's on do not disturb. He doesn't take calls because he needs to get work done. That's not the way that you communicate.
Not the way to talk about it. No, that's exactly right.
Like, it's the truth, right? But that's not the way you say it. It's, no problem. He's unavailable, but he will call you back. Give me some context on what's the best number. You know, like it's really about framing it. And
so it's saying yes in a different way. I love this. Saying yes in a different way.
Yeah, it's about solutions. And in that example you just gave, Linda, that's about us controlling when we show up. You know, those staff are on do not disturb, not because they're in the back room having drinks, because they're at their desks working on other clients' work. That is more efficient if they're not interrupted, right? That's generally the go.
Absolutely.
So we can control how we're showing up for our clients at any given time. And at that firm, they're choosing, hey, we're just going to show up for this client and work on this client's piece of work without being interrupted. And that's great.
Exactly. So I think there's probably some mindset shifting for some of us in the industry to think about this in a different way. And yeah, I love it. Say yes in a different way. You're still providing a solution. So perhaps you need to take an objective look at how you are operating, and perhaps how the example that you're setting for your team as well, because they are also just going to follow your lead. Okay, they've got a big reaction from Kylie with that one. I can see her, everybody. You can't.
I just feel like, you know, staff, we do need to lead by example. That's one of my key things: lead by example, lead by example. And sometimes it's do as I say, not what I do, sort of thing. But that's on a rarer occasion. But that does creep in. But staff want to be told exactly how to handle things. So how awful, you know, in using that example again, how awful for those client service people to constantly say, no, they're not available, no, they're not available, no, they're not available. You know, we don't want to abandon the pursuit of saying yes to clients, because that's what they want to hear. They want to hear yes, but they only know what they know. Correct. So it's just about being solutions driven. You know, you really want to be able to give them a solution. Yes, you can speak to that person by 5 p.m. today.
Yes, exactly. It's all in how you language it and how you put it, isn't it? So perhaps there's some training or some brainstorming or things that you can do about how to say that, you know, and the framework around what you would say. And, you know, all that's going to take some time. But I think the place to start, if we're talking about this, is to actually just have a look at how you're operating, the example that you might be setting, and going, well, what do I really want to do here? What is the best for me, and what is the best for my team and my clients as well? Yep. So I love that, choosing when to show up. So having some control over that and not being reactive to everything, because we know when we're in a reactive space, you know, often we won't be working at our best or our full capacity. All right. How do we then, we've decided, all right, I don't want to, you know, be available to clients perhaps all of the time. I want to turn up and say yes, and not be saying no to them, but this needs to have some structure and framework around it. How do we go about this, Kylie? I know I've got some strategies. You've got some strategies. And I think the first one is what I just led off with there before about managing your own expectations with regard to what you can do and when you want to do it. So that's a good place to start. Kylie, what's some of the things that you use?
So when I think about how to manage my own expectations, I really, and I am quite a practical person, I really drill down into what is my personal availability, which I know what I'm capable of, but what am I available for? And those two are very, very different things. Like I said, we've all got families or personal things that we want to do, and we have to balance that for many, many reasons.
That's exactly right.
But also just for our own personal self. You don't want to be that person that's never at work and just rolls in to see a client and then rolls out. But equally, you don't want to be that person at home either that's never at home, rolls in for the special occasions and rolls out. Like, I think for the majority, it's certainly a generalization, we want to be present at both things. So one of the things that I do is I am exceptionally present where I am at that time. So, I'm not sitting here thinking, is my husband getting my kids ready for school? Is my daughter going to catch the bus today? What's going on? I'm just like, no, they'll sort it out. I'm here, I'm doing Clubhouse. What's our topic? Funnily, it's about saying yes. So I really think about what I'm capable of,
yes,
but also what I'm available for. And then once I determine what I'm available for, then it's about breaking down into, well, if I have this time, how am I best going to use it?
Okay, so it's looking at, I suppose there's a word of acceptance in there as well. It's like, I'm not Superwoman, I can't do everything or be everything. So it then is about, okay, here's what I've got. What can I do the best with this, rather than trying to be everything to everybody? Is that what you're sort of saying there?
Absolutely. We have to, some people would view that as limiting yourself. And I'm quite fine with that, actually. Like, I do think it's about putting limits on things, and there's nothing wrong with, hello, Michelle. I know Michelle. There's nothing wrong with that either. You need to be able to set some firm boundaries, especially if you're a leader and you've got staff under you, because they need to understand where you're at as well.
Absolutely.
So Michelle, who I know, has asked the most awesome question. Any opinion about non-traditional comms style from clients such as messaging apps? Do you want to go on that one, Linda, or do you want me to?
No, you can, Kylie, because I think that's right up your alley. I'm pro them as well, but again, it's all within the framework and structure, isn't it, really? So yes, great question, Michelle, and hi to you, by the way.
Yeah. Awesome question. Okay, so messaging apps. I am all for the many types of communication. That clients can't just email or call. Like, that's like from, I was going to say 1980, but I didn't email then. So you know what I mean. It's so 10 years ago.
It was so yesterday.
Because in my head, it's still like 2000. But really, we live in, like, it's 2022 clients, and depending on our client demographic will depend on how they want to talk to you. More mature clients might want to come and see you every time. That's fine, but are they willing to pay for that? Some of our younger demographic clients, particularly ones that are making money on e-commerce stuff or social media, particularly those guys, they're going to want to communicate with you in a totally different fashion. They're not going to want to show up at the office for meetings. So messaging apps have a real place. However, they can really undo you and your team if there's not some limits around them. Because the problem with messaging apps and the problem with life these days is that we are constantly on. So, clients text us all the time, and whether that's appropriate or not really comes down to you and your own boundaries and what you have said yes to. Personally, I don't think that clients should be texting your personal mobile phone at all hours of the day and night. That would not work for me. I think if that's the case and you do want clients to text you, get 2 mobile phones. I realized early on 2 mobile phones wasn't going to work for me. I don't have very big handbags, and I'm flat out remembering one. So I was only ever going to have one mobile phone, for which I was very happy for some of my clients to have, and they're the ones that I've vetted and that they're respectful, and they will literally ring me or text me on a weekend if someone has died. Like, seriously, I accept texts if someone's dead.
Yeah,
you know?
okay.
And sadly,
that's a good line in the sand.
Yeah, sadly that happens. But but the equivalent, right? Like, it's got to be an emergency.
Yes,
and I always remind people, accountant, not brain surgeon. So there's very few accounting emergencies. So really think about it. And I train my clients by, if people do step out of line a little bit, I will respond and say, hey, thanks for letting me know. I'll give you a buzz about this, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Or whatever the story is. So you just really teach them not to overuse that. Other messaging apps, like, we're pro. Like, I've talked before about how we use Slack. Slack has an instant messenger feature in there. And we use Slack for all of our bookkeeping clients because that's what works best. Email is the slowest way to get bookkeeping queries, and plus your tax queries as well. But it's about onboarding people to the right way. I've seen successfully people have a WhatsApp, and clients just all have the number and they go into the WhatsApp. But it's just another form of comms that someone's going to have to manage. And really that comes down to client service. So I'm pro as long as we've got the right constraints around messaging apps. And that partly comes in the way that we talk to clients and deal with clients. One of the things that we are going to implement this year is a client welcome pack. I've been working on it for quite some time. We just haven't ever gotten around to finishing it. And that for us is going to really outline where the line is for clients, how they contact you and what that looks like. Got it. Exactly. And what to expect when they do contact us in these different ways. If they need us urgently, what's the best way to contact us? Pick up the phone. Like, it's surprising these days that you have to say that to people, but you do. Yes. So Michelle, I think it's not a free-for-all on all messaging apps. I think they definitely have a place. It's another communication tool. I think, again, it's coming back to decide what works for your firm and then educate your clients about how to use that and what that is. And something that, whether it's the phone, whether it's text messaging, whether it's WhatsApp, whether it's Slack, it doesn't matter. Whether it's dropping into the office, any type of communication method needs to be managed and expectations set. So I've had a little trick that I've been using with some clients, and I call it the rules of reasonableness. And so what we do is, often something's presented to us, a problem, or someone says, hey, I need you right now. And, by our very nature, we're supportive people, problem solvers. By our very nature, we go, okay, what do I need to do? And we react. Now, what I get my clients to think about is it reasonable that you react straight away? Absolutely not. In 99.9% of cases. Kylie, you're spot on. We are not brain surgeons. No one is going to die by, us not responding to an accounting query. So what is reasonable then? And, we talk about phoning someone back within 24 hours, responding to them perhaps in the next couple of hours, or certainly that day. What is reasonable? There was an example where I was sitting with a client one day and they received an email from a client that said, I need to talk to you right away. And he couldn't help himself. He was looking at the screen. I'm going, woo, I'm back here, coach here. Talk to me, ignore your emails. But he couldn't. He was in that real reactive space. And I said, okay, what does it say if it's so urgent? He told me it wasn't urgent. So I said, all right, let's just try this. I said, what would you normally have done? He said, well, I normally would have wrote back straight away and go, I can pop over there this afternoon, because this client was quite close to them. I said, okay, let's try this. Have a look in your calendar for me. This was, I think it was early in the week. It was, say, a Tuesday. And he said, well, I've got some time Friday. Okay. I said, all right, that sounds pretty reasonable. And have you got some time perhaps tomorrow?
And he said, yes, I do. It's like, okay, let's email her back and go, I could pop over at 2 p.m. on Friday and see what she says. Now, he emailed her back, and within 10 minutes, she had come back and gone, oh, that's so great. Thank you so much. So that's what I call rules of reasonableness. So our reaction was to come immediately to the rescue when that really wasn't what the client was expecting.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
if that client would have then come back to that email and said, oh, no, I need to see you before then the next step, well, I've got some time tomorrow. How about that? See what they say. You will, in just a couple of little things, determine really how urgent this is rather than that immediate reaction. So that's the first little trick, I suppose. Rules of reasonableness. What would be reasonable? This client has gone on to use that. So,
Yeah, the only drama I see with reasonableness is that it comes with our own judgment piece on it.
Yes.
So you'd have to be super certain to communicate with your staff what is, like in my version, what's the IQ version of reasonable? You know, and some of my staff might completely disagree. No way, like we could do better than that. Or no way, that's too. So we have to find the common line. I think certainly I love that, like rules of reasonableness, but you definitely have to put some constraints in there just for your team, because otherwise everyone has their own perceived version of reasonableness. I think that needs some thought. Practically there, when you were talking, Linda, that made me think about a problem that most people have, which is clients and email. So it probably goes in line with Michelle, you know, like how, I just got a message. My computer's running low, so I'm just going to duck under the table and find out.
All right. Yes, of course. Plug that in. We don't want to lose you.
No, that made me realize, you know, from our viewpoint, a lot of clients will email. Like I've seen clients that will send an email at 5 o'clock in the morning because they get up early for their job, and then at 8 o'clock send another email saying, hey, you haven't responded to my email. Did you see this? Just check. And it's like, my staff don't start work till 8:30, and they sort of like to, you know, plan their day, open their emails and respond to all of them straight away. Like that's what I do, but not everybody does that.
No.
So, you know, you really need to train clients on those rules of reasonableness as well. And in that case, I really pushed back on clients by saying to them, hey, yes, we've seen it. Actually, our office hours are and someone will respond to you shortly.
Yeah.
What was happening was they'd email the staff member and then CC me in on that, hey, have you seen this? And I'm like, oh gosh, no, they won't have seen it because they're at home with their family where they belong.
That's not their work hours. Yes.
Exactly. But how does that happen? It happens because as accountants and in an industry, we're responding to people out of hours. Now, I have a trick for that. I'm not going to lie. I do not put my emails down at 5 o'clock and never look at them again until 8:30 the next morning. I would have checked my emails. I'm going to say, I just have to plug this in.
You're right. Plug that in.
But I'm going to say maybe 4 times since I left the office yesterday.
That's pretty good though.
I reckon. Yes. Like you're not supposed to check your emails just before you go to bed. I am one of those people. I need to stop that habit. And also first thing when you wake up, also one of those people need to stop that habit. Does nothing for my anxiety level. And there's no bad emails in there. I don't know why I'm anxious. But that said, I don't respond to people. I might draft a response, save it in my drafts on my phone. I might think about a response so that I know what to expect and I can bash out the responses when I get in the morning, but I certainly don't respond to people because
it's a great tactic.
That's asking for trouble. The other thing is, if you've got Office 365, there is a setting in the back that you can put on that says, do you want to send this email within office hours? So even if you accidentally press send, there's a setting that says, hey, do you want to send it?
And if you say send it. Now there's tricky tech for you. That's cool.
It's so that started really, really quickly for us after we put online bookings on, and we use the bookings app through Office. Okay. So that works really, really well. So then if my staff are here working late and they want to respond to a client, it will ask them, hey, do you specifically want to do that? So that helps it go across the board, because when you work collaboratively like we do, if I've got one staff member one naughty seed that emails clients out of hours makes the rest of us look terrible. So one for all and all for one.
That's it. You're all in the pot together. Exactly. Yeah, okay, I love that. So that's a great tactic, everybody. So we can still achieve what we want to achieve by perhaps, if we're checking emails after hours or outside of these times that we decide when we should check emails or look at messages, we can draft the response, but either schedule them to be sent at 9 a.m. You know, there's a lot of email or things that you can schedule responses to, as well as that little trick that Kylie just mentioned about Office 365, which a lot of us would use that setting. So that's a great setting.
Also turn off your read messages. So some people have, hey, I want to request when that person has read it.
Yeah.
Turn that off. It's a setting in Outlook or whatever. Every email system that I've ever used has had that setting. I want people to know when I've read their email. We have a standard service turnaround time, which we smash. And if that's not good enough, you know, I'd really like to see where they could get quicker service.
Yeah, excellent. Well, good morning, Roy. Roy's asked us a question in Clubhouse, Kylie. He said,
Hi, Roy.
My comments had reminded him of another issue that we face. How many business client appointments per day per accountant is reasonable? Great question, Roy. And of course, it all depends, doesn't it? It depends on what you're doing. But from my perspective, I think I'm going to go back to the mental health and how we work best and all of that. I think if you're doing more around set times, because some client appointments, if you're doing, let's say, an individual return, a team member might be doing an individual return, that appointment might be 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, something like that. You could do quite a number of those. If you're doing a big tax planning appointment, that could be 2 hours, 2.5 hours, something like that. It depends on what you're doing. I would say take appointments in the morning or the afternoon, or do one full day and then have a day off. So that's more how I look at things. I look at an ideal week and go, I want to take client appointments for 50 to 60% of my week. I've got other things that I need to be doing, and block out those times as best you can. So that's what I think is reasonable. Kylie, you might deal with it in a different way.
Yeah, I love that Roy has asked how many business client appointments are reasonable in a day.
Sorry. Yes.
Which no, that's good. It's good information. I think it depends on your staff member. So each of my team are very, very different. I personally will take 4 tax planning appointments per day during tax planning, and I'm smashed by the end. Literally, I'm non-coherent almost. I openly apologize to the people that see me in the second last week of June. And it's all about the forward planning. So I will take 4, but some of those appointments are 2.5 hours. The shortest will be an hour and a half. So 4 appointments in a day can be sort of 10 to 12 hour days, which is a lot.
It's huge.
Especially when we're talking tax planning, which really hurts my head. So that's hard. Generally though, I will say that 4 appointments is, I don't know where you've gone, Linda, but I'll see you in a second again.
That's right.
Generally, I will say 4 appointments is my maximum during the day, and on a normal, and they're sort of like 60-minute appointments.
Yes.
And on a normal day, what I will say is, if people give me 4 appointments and the other time frames are available, I'm going to ask why. Why do client services hate me?
Why did you stuff them all in together? Yes.
Right? What did I ever do to them that made them want to ruin my day so badly? Because as I teach my staff, I cannot, my nice face doesn't last all day if I have to use it on many, many people. So how about we try and, my calendar's clearly blocked out for certain things, and then they can share those appointments. Now, that doesn't always work, and it's not always their fault.
No.
But I will actually have my team warn my clients, hey, generally she doesn't take this many appointments. No. Do you still want that one? So that they have some pre-warning that I've done a lot of appointments that day, And like I said, I'm one of those people that I want to give and we all do, we want to give everyone the all when we're there. And you've got to do what works for you. I think though, for staff, the most important thing is realizing what their personal level is. So if you've got a staff member that's new to client appointments, you can't just put like a blanket appointment across. You really just can't.
No. And I think what you've just said all in that, Kylie, is again about first managing your expectations and then educating and communicating to the team what their expectations are and what those rules are. And I know I'm similar in that if I'm doing smaller sort of coaching catch-up type calls, that I do tend to do those smaller 4 to 5 appointments a day. If I'm doing my really big coaching sessions, which are generally 3 hours long, I'm only doing one of those a day, and I may have 1, maybe 2 at a squeeze, other appointments. But after those, just like some of your tax planning stuff, it hurts my head. And so, I've only got so much headspace to do this, and then I'm not performing at my best. I know I'm not. And then when I go home, then I'm certainly not performing there, and I'm not present there. So it's just not good across the board. So it depends the type of appointment too, I think, is the thing. There's some things that I teach or do a regular coaching call with my education students, and that's the same sort of topics week in, week out. Now, I could probably do half a dozen of them all day, every day. That's very easy for me. It doesn't drain my brain. But where I'm advising, coaching, doing those sorts of things, that takes just a lot more energy from me.
Yeah. And look, I will also agree with that. Like my advisory clients that I see every single month, I will only see 2 of them max per day because I'm really into their business and take it on like it's my own. So it's hard for me to do that for more than 2. Hey, Roy's come back to us. He said, thanks. I was looking at online bookings and had 2 in mind because you have work to do after the appointment in addition to the additional work that comes in via emails and phone calls. So that's awesome that we could give you some food for thought on that, Roy. And I agree that online client booking is amazing because you can really set your parameters. So clients just can't book.
No.
Yeah, clients can't book. So it's like, oh, you've reached your maximum of 2. How about the next day?
Yes.
I love that. I love that for my staff. I love that we can have a certain professional development time and no one can book appointments. It's just so easy. I know that if I want to have a sneaky staff day, the beginning of December, I just book it like it's a holiday and no client can book appointments. It is like, it's honestly such a great system to use. So if you're not doing online bookings, really give it some thought.
And guess what? You're not saying no. It's the computer saying no. So, it's just, and people accept that. They go on, they book doctors, hairdressers, all a whole other types of appointments in there, and they realize, oh no, fully booked. Okay, I just go to the next one that's available.
Actually, that's a tip. In your email footer, you should always link to your online booking system. And quite often what I will find is if clients are emailing me after hours, because, generally we all have the same things with clients. They want to buy a car. Number one reason why clients are emailing me hysterical at the moment is they're trying to get finance. They need something from me. And we're pretty good. We don't get clients that ask for financials or tax returns because they're in their portal. So it's more about, hey, I need a bank letter, or can you confirm this, or can you give me my portal reports, or blah, blah, blah. We have a link in our email footer that says, if you need us, and this may not be an email question, or you need it urgently, book a 15-minute time. So what I see a lot of clients do is they'll email us at night time and then they'll book straight away for like the next day or the day after, because I'll allow quite quick bookings for those little short, tiny appointments because they can just smash it out and get it done. Now, the beauty of that is 2 things. Number one, it trains the clients that, they can't just email us and we're going to get back to them. Number 2, we charge for those small appointments. It's way more difficult to charge for emails than it is when people have a face-to-face discussion with you. People just see more value in it, regardless of the fact that we do the same work. I would rather people book that 15-minute appointment with me or with one of my teams so that we can just get them the stuff that they need. And then the client sees it, yes, confirm they've got it, happy days, see you later until the next time you want to do this. Whereas if it's an email, it's quite transactional. Roy raises a really good point. It's a lot of backwards and forwards. Email is my least preferred method of communication if I'm real about it.
Yes, exactly. And I think the thing is if we look at the problem that the client needs to be solved immediately, that immediate problem is not what they want to talk to you about. The immediate problem is getting you to respond. So when they can book an online appointment, problem solved. I'll go away and wait until my booking time. So you still have solved the problem. So we expect that they need that answer straight away, but that's not what it is. It's they just need the problem solved. I need some sort of solution to know my problem will be solved. And you know, we get in our own heads about that, about having to be reactive.
It's so funny because clients will email and say, I need this ASAP.
Yes.
And then they'll book an appointment in 4 days.
Yes.
And you're like, cool.
Okay.
That's really
Excellent.
good to know.
Yeah.
No worries. Can see you booked an appointment. See you then. Like, love, who defines ASAP?
That's right.
They just want it.
That's right. Exactly. Everything is relative. And so it's being clear about how you want to work. Being able to say yes more often is better if you're structuring how and when you're actually responding to everybody. So putting some structure around that, putting some framework around that, investigating that for yourself first. Then even brainstorming that with the team, see what they feel should be reasonable to them. If we use the rules of reasonableness that I was talking about before, have a chat with them, sit down. What should this look like? Because you've got the various levels, like Kylie was saying before. If one goes outside of the structure, then the whole thing will collapse around you. You know, it's not there. So you do have to talk about it, enforce it. You know, reinforce it is a better word, not enforce it, but reinforce it through behaviors. So I think that's really important. But hearing a whole lot of communication, setting expectations, and hot tip of the day, if you're not using online booking, get it in place, put it in your email footer. And there were a couple other tech tips in there as well if you missed those. All right, Kylie. Well, I think we've covered a lot of this. Where else? Is there something else that we need to go and chat about?
I don't think so. I think for me, just my last, sort of thing that I'd like people to think about or that I want to share is that when I do have to say no to clients, because it is inevitable, I always use an empathy statement. And that softens the blow. Like can you write a bank letter saying that I earn this? And it's like, well, you don't actually earn that. Mm-hmm. So I see, and the words that I would use there, because empathy statements create trust and also mutual understanding. They put people on the same page. Is I understand that in order to get your loan, you need to declare income of that. Mm-hmm. However, that's not real. I can only do what's real. So if you wanted to start paying yourself this amount and then readdress this in a few months' time, I'm more than happy to write that letter for you. So it's about empathy. Don't just say no. No, I cannot. You don't earn that. Send.
Yes. Provide some sort of solution or path to that. I had that exact same thing happen very early in my career. And I had doing some salary sacrificing, and they needed a certain level to be able to get this particular motor vehicle that they wanted. And I looked at it and went, this isn't going to work. I can't do this. And the same thing. And I remember just feeling so bad at the time that I had to effectively say no. But those clients came back to me in 6 months' time and said, oh, Linda, you were right. We would have really struggled with this. But now this has changed. We can do it now, right? And they could, So I think that's very much as far as advisors go, where we sit as accountants. We're not just going to do anything because a client wants us to. It's up to us as professionals to let them know what they can do and what is perhaps not advisable. So I think, that's being true to us and true to our profession. All right. Well, look, thank you everyone for chatting with us this morning. That's been amazing. We love your questions. And then, of course, we can direct our comments and our discussions to wherever you would like. But I think in summarizing again, I'm just going to go back to managing expectations, both yours, your teams, and your clients, and the little tips and tricks that came out of today on how to do that. So it's all about communication. We can't sit back and go, this is not happening for us, and just expect that it's going to happen around us unless we change something. So it's all really important for us to take a good look at this so that we can keep doing what we should be doing and servicing our clients to the best possible. And so thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kylie.
Thank you, Linda. Great conversation this morning. What are we talking about next week?
Ooh, let's have a look. So let's have a look at what we're doing next week, 14th of September. Goodness gracious, the year is flying by. 14th of September, how to build a powerful employee brand and become an employer of choice. Ooh, so we all are looking for staff. There's definitely talent shortage out there. A lot of talk in the industry about this. So of course, as Kylie and I are well known for our practical tips, tricks, and hacks. So please tune in and listen to what we might have to say. Who knows what we might say about that? We never know. So,
Depends on the morning.
It sure does. So please join us for a bit of lighthearted conversation, or with a serious undertone. Next Wednesday morning, 14th of September. We'll see you then. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.